The Therian warrior stood at the edge of the battlefield, his four muscular arms hanging weakly at his sides as he tried to catch his breath. All around him lay the broken and bloodied bodies of his comrades, their emerald skin now dull and lifeless. The remaining handful of Therian soldiers were just as exhausted, some collapsing where they stood unable to fight any longer. Their enemies, the vicious Kargan, were slowly advancing, their fangs bared and claws extended. The dog-like creatures were relentless, bred for warfare on their harsh desert homeworld over countless generations. Their stamina and bloodlust were unmatched across the known galaxy. The battle had raged for what seemed an eternity, but could not have lasted longer than a few hours by galactic standard time. Still, even that felt far longer than any Therian could withstand in continuous brutal combat. They were formidable warriors in their own right, broad-chested and four-armed, with thick reptilian hides that could withstand injury. But their strength and endurance had hard limits the Kargan did not seem bound by. General Zathok watched with despair as another one of his soldiers fell lifeless to the red sand beneath them, throat torn out by the jaws of a Kargan beast. The proud Therian military had never known defeat until they met the nightmarish Kargan, and now utter annihilation seemed inevitable. As three Kargan closed in, slaughter glowing in their predatory yellow eyes, Zathok reached for his plasma blade. He braced himself to die with honor for his people, hoping to at least fell one more enemy before the end. But before the Kargan could strike, searing bolts of blue and red plasma slammed into them, sending the beast hurtling away with pained, guttural yelps. Zathok turned to see three bipedal creatures approaching fast, strange weapons raised steadily in their hands. They wore form-fitting suits of some glossy black material along with reflective helmets obscuring their faces. But the general immediately knew who these newcomers were, the human mercenaries hired in secret and promised to turn the tide of this hopeless war. When news first reached the area of the encroaching Kargan, hordes spilling like a locust swarm from the mountains, the council had scoffed. The area was well defended with a long, proud warrior history. The insectoid Kargan were annoyances at best, easily squashed. Only General Zathok had voiced concern, well aware the Therian military was no match for a true Kargan invasion force. Their warriors were bred as living weapons, as relentless and unbreakable as the desert world that birthed them. But the council dismissed Oxidhack's dire warnings until that first bitter defeat when the Kargan made planetfall. Panic had set in quickly then. Emergency funds were allocated to hire whatever off-world fighters could be summoned swiftly. Privacy contracts were authorized to conceal exactly how much Tharia would pay to desperately turn the tide. And three response teams were rapidly dispatched across the stars from Earth, the only species renowned for having a chance against a Kargan onslaught. Humans had a fearsome galaxy-wide reputation and an astronomical hiring price to match. Now it seemed those interstellar rumors were about to be put to the test. The lead human strode towards General Zathak, weapons fire lighting up the chaos around them. It moved with singular purpose, seemingly ignoring the scores of Kargan still raging towards the city perimeter only meters away. Without hesitation, the armored figure raised its sleek rifle and snapped off three more plasma bolts in rapid succession, each one unerringly finding the torso or head of a Kargan warrior about to overwhelm the last ranks of Therian defenders. Its two human companions fanned out on the flanks, advancing with steady, measured strides no soldier Zathak had ever commanded could match even when fresh. The elite Therian guard numbered among the most lethal fighters in the system, but these odd bipedal aliens moved like apex predators honed by nature to hunt and kill. They unleashed coordinated volleys of plasma fire too swift and accurate for the insectoid Kargan to evade or counter. Scores of beasts fell shrieking before most even realized they were under this new blistering assault. In mere minutes, the relentless Kargan advance had been shredded and stalled. The few aliens left standing lost all semblance of formation as they circled warily seeking openings for counterattack. Their discipline faltered facing prey. Their instincts could not explain. Something impossibly fast and strong systematically executing their pack with inexorable, merciless efficiency. For the first time in recorded history, Kargan predators had become prey. Emboldened by desperation and rage at mounting losses, one gigantic Kargan alpha suddenly broke ranks and charged straight toward the lead human, slavering jaws agape. The beast moved in a red blur, only to smash headlong into the human's armored frame as it pivoted with shocking speed directly into the Kargan's path. The powerful blow barely staggered the figure. In a heartbeat, it drew and fired a burst of high-energy rounds point-blank into the Kargan's torso before the creature could recover. Violet blood and fire erupted as the Alpha was flung back, trailing smoke and vital fluids. The remaining Kargan pack howled in fury at the Alpha male's fall and rushed to swarm the humans. But the mercenaries together whirled to meet them without hesitation, showing no hint of fear or weakness. They wielded plasma rifles and ruthless armored fists with lethal accuracy, fighting disciplined yet feral, each compensating instantly for the other's actions with fluid teamwork no Therians could match. The frenzied Kargan were relentless, but it was clear these humans had long since evolved into apex predators themselves. Cunning, savage, and merciless when roused, they met the insectoid warriors blow for blow, tearing into the slavering hordes without care for numbers or personal risk. Screeching aliens fell broken before them, 3 at a time. Within minutes, General Zahak stared in disbelief as 50 Kargan lay unmoving around the mercenaries in a spreading pool of violet blood and ichor. 2 of the humans had sustained injuries, but still, they pressed the counterattack with their companion at point. The remaining Kargan finally broke ranks in retreat, fleeing back toward the outskirts of the city. Some Therians cheered, but Zathak noted the humans simply paused to verify kills, then strode back towards his position, weapons still charged and ready. Like expert trackers, they were scanning for stragglers, not celebrating as if the fight was finished. "By the 10 gods, I've never seen anything like it," one of Zathak's sub-commanders muttered. "Nor have I," Zathak agreed solemnly. During his long career commanding elite Therian units, no soldier had embodied anything close to what he had just witnessed. He immediately called for medics to tend the human wounded once they returned. Clearly, that astronomical feat had already proved worth every galactic credit the Council had secretly wired to Earth. Nearly an hour passed before the lead mercenary returned. Helmet retracted at last to reveal the face of a human female framed by short brown fur and piercing blue eyes that reminded Zathak oddly of the glacial pools on Theria's southern pole. Grit, determination, and danger glinted there in equal measure. Without ceremony, she strode up to the general and spoke in flawless Therian, getting directly to business. "The remaining Kargan units are withdrawing over the mountains, General. We estimate at least a quarter of their invading force has been eliminated." Zathak straightened. "That alone is the first true victory since these creatures arrive. You have no idea what this means for our people's morale." The female nodded crisply. "Then our first objective is complete. Your troops need time to recover their strength. We'll equip perimeter patrols and stand ready to intercept any stragglers. There may yet be probing attacks, so tell your medics to work quickly." Zathak digested a flash of irritation at the blunt instructions on his own battlefield. But there was ultimately no denying this human, and her team had just accomplished in hours what his entire army had failed at for weeks. Her next words drove that truth home even further. "We marked the Kargan hive location in the mountains. Once your forces have regrouped, we will initiate a surgical strike to destroy it. Never let them fully retreat and regroup somewhere safe. They recover too quickly. We need to eradicate this invading force now before they can establish entrenched nests across your planet." Zathak's eyes widened slightly. It should have been obvious. Removing the central hive would leave any surviving Kargan uncoordinated and vulnerable. But months of being slowly beaten back by the remorseless enemy had left the general and his beleaguered officers unable to think strategically. They had focused solely on retreating and defending, not daring to imagine being able to take any offensive action. These humans clearly represented a completely different mindset. "I am in your debt, mercenary," Zathak said slowly. "Today you turned looming defeat into real hope for Theria's future freedom." He continued studying her alien features, noting the trail of red blood still oozing from one injury that seemed otherwise ignored. "Might I finally ask, what are your people truly called?" The female glanced back at her 2 associates conferring quietly amongst themselves a short distance away. When she turned back to meet Zathak's gaze, full on. A hint of fierce smile ghosted her lips. Those icy blue eyes flashed with inner fire that sent an involuntary shiver through the battle-scarred old Therian. "We are humans, General Zathak. Tell your people that much, at least. Remember it well for both today and tomorrow." Without further explanation, she turned and moved back toward her team. Zathak watched them depart, spine tingling with sudden certainty down to his ancient warrior bones. Certainty that he had just glimpsed the future axis upon which the entire galaxy would, for word was already spreading in whispered awe among his ragged soldiers about the strange bipedal saviors. These humans moved with preternatural speed, strength and resilience no Therian or Kargan could match. They showed no fear or exhaustion, even through hours of non-stop lethal combat, where the most elite Therian warriors had quickly flagged. Rumors were one thing, but eyewitness accounts entirely different. After today, General Zathak had zero doubt. For better or worse, the future course of all civilizations would soon come to revolve around the endless ambition of these unassuming but clearly exceptional bipedal creatures. For their physical power was formidable, their tactical skill and cunning beyond measure, their adaptive resilience unprecedented, and their sheer indefatigable will and determination was a force unprecedented in the known universe. The most deadly warriors must now look first to humans for models of proficiency and purpose, then determine how their own skills and technology compared or contrasted. As the mercenaries moved silently back out on patrol, beyond sight, Zathak gazed up at the blood-red disk of his home star sinking below the distant mountains and wondered what new dawn tomorrow might bring for Tharia and all peoples who found themselves pulled into humanity's swelling sphere of influence. A tide was turning across the stars this day. That much the old soldier was now certain of in his bones. He drew himself straighter, despite his utter weariness, and turned to tend his brave wounded and properly honor the valiant dead arrayed around him. Duty and purpose called anew, thanks to humanity's intervention this day. Tomorrow held danger still, but finally offered real hope again rather than slow defeat. For that alone, the general swore Theria would find some way to repay this unexpected debt, no matter the ultimate cost.